Hello and welcome to Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. here at the ACC Community Room. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jeani, your guide for the next hour. We are focused on gentle yoga, starting with a warm-up in a standing position. Then we will move to a modified version of Sun Salutations, sort of just to get things moving and heated. And then we'll make our way down to the floor for our cool down period. Now, today's class, I'm hoping to use props like the strap, blocks. You're welcome to bring a cushion nearby if you know that laying on your back or being on your knees requires a little more elevation. So just have your usual props near you, but at the very least, maybe some blocks and the strap. In that being said, let's go ahead and begin at the back of the mat, as we usually do. As you begin to arrive, don't worry about changing the quality of your breath. Just give yourself that space to be present as things brought you to class, letting them sort of melt away. Focusing on the breath, how the body is feeling in our home position of mountain. With a little more focus on developing the breath, let's go ahead and bring our left palm to rest on our chest, right palm underneath the belly. For the next few breath cycles, you can start to focus in on a longer inhale, watching the hand on the chest, feeling the hand on the chest lift perhaps at the top of the inhale. A brief pause before we start a slower, more controlled exhale. And at the bottom of that exhale, perhaps even pulling the belly button in towards the spine, a gentle pressing of the belly hand inward. And as we're developing the breath, just give yourself some time to find that slower, maybe more like a 5 to 6 second breath cycle at the end of this exercise. Last touch to developing our relaxed breath. Just bring the sound of a sigh or an ocean wave to the back of the throat. Then we can bring our hands down to the side. We'll start to bring a little body movement and breath into focus here. So standing a little taller in our mountain. Let's go ahead and inhale deeply, feel the energy lifting through the feet, through the legs, spine, to the crown of the head and beyond. And then on the exhale, feel that energy reverse direction, down the body, returning to the earth at the bottom of the exhale. With the next inhale, we can slowly roll the center of gravity at our feet towards the toes. Give yourself some time to get to the tip of the edge, and then give the next breath the rolling of the center of gravity back towards the heels. And giving ourselves a couple more breath cycles, just explore that heel to toe movement at the center of gravity as we go from heel to toe. And meeting back at center in our mountain, center of gravity somewhere above the ankles, nearer to the heels. We can go ahead and dip into our home base of mountain. Inhale to reset, feel nice and energized upwards. And then exhale, just roll the weight at the soles of the feet towards the outer right edges. Try to keep the body upright. Inhale, back up to center, and exhale to the other side. You can use this 3-part breath to inhale to the center, exhale to either side, or just like a metronome, use the inhale and the exhale to move from side to side. Eventually, we meet back at center. So coming back in, let's go ahead and reset our mountain once more. Inhaling nice and tall. Every iteration of mountain just a little longer, a little taller. We'll go ahead and start making small circles at the ankles. And those circles are going to radiate outward toward the perimeter of the feet until we find that edge at the perimeter of the feet. Then go ahead and tighten in the circles. And we'll make our way back to mountain. Feeling that energy drop into our mountain like water going down a drain. We're going to inhale tall in our mountain once more. And same circles, but in the opposite direction. Notice any differences as you radiate outwards towards the edges of your feet, but now in this direction. Sometimes it's different. Then tighten in the circles once you've explored the perimeter, and we'll meet back at center, back in our home base of mountain. Go ahead and lift the feet. You can always do minor counter stretches, deactivation, bouncing the knees gently before you reset for the next mountain. Now, we'll go ahead and inhale nice and tall. Just lifting the right sole of the foot, standing weight on the left leg. Just see if you have that balance. If you do, internally rotate and then slightly externally rotate. You're just giving yourself about 4 hip rotations, beginning towards the midline and then moving out towards the outer edge of your leg. This is just to give yourself an idea of how open you are in your right hip. Go ahead and return to mountain after your 4th. We'll do that one more time. Inhaling, standing weight to the left leg, finding that balance, and then moving from an outer to an inner rotation this time. Try not to lock out the left leg, and just see where your right hip feels. Return to mountain after your 4th. Give yourself a nice little reset if you need. Left side of the leg might still have activated muscles, so go ahead and stand on the right leg and gently kick out forward to the side before you reach over with the leg towards the right. Then we'll go ahead and return to our mountain and repeat on the other side. Give yourself, again, any deactivation of muscles and return to mountain. Inhaling nice and tall. We're going to bring our right standing leg and then feel the left balance. Feel the balance with the left leg up and internal to external rotation, total of 4. And they don't have to be big unless you have that mobility and that balance there. But it's just a warm-up to get some lubrication in the hips. Sometimes they're a little dry and creaky. We'll go ahead and return to mountain when you're done with that. Standing weight once more to the right leg and one more on the left side. Going from an outer to an inner rotation. Trying to lubricate any dryness and making just small enough movements to move the hip. Let's go ahead and return to our mountain. Moving up the body, we're going to just lengthen through the legs. If you need that bend to the knees, go ahead and keep it. You can straighten as it's available to you. And of course, never locking out the knees. We're moving up to the shoulders this time, palms facing forward. Let's go ahead and inhale, bring the shoulders up towards the ceiling, away from the ears though. Then exhale, roll them back, and just let them melt down the back. And as we're doing 4 of these, you just have to think about the breath as your guide here. Let your exhale fully relax those shoulder blades down the thoracic back, down that mid back. Inhaling lifts energy all the way through the crown of the head. Exhaling just releases the shoulders. This time, our next round will be inhaling up again, but this time rolling forward and down, still tucking in the shoulder blade wingtips at the bottom of the exhale. Just giving yourself that opportunity to see how your shoulders are feeling. Maybe get some lubrication there. And after your last set, we'll go ahead and move on up to the neck. I'm going to give myself a little bounce. And then inhaling, nice and tall, gentle tuck of the chin at this point. Hopefully you're finding an alignment of the ear over the shoulders, over the hips, over the knees, and the ankles with each iteration of mountain as we near to the last few warm-ups here. Let's go ahead and inhale nice and tall. Exhale, let the right ear drop towards the right shoulder. Fully exhaled, inhale to lift the chest, exhale to turn the gaze. Giving ourselves a few breath cycles on this side. Maybe our eyes will land at the rightmost of our vision by the end of our 4th breath cycle. Exhale. The next inhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head completely up to the top, and then exhale the left ear towards the left shoulder. Inhale to lift the chest, exhale to turn the gaze. If you slept on your neck differently than you usually do, you might find a little stiffness there, so just breathe into it. Inhaling to get as much of the energy, circulation, moving through the body. Exhaling to release. Keeping the space between the ear and the shoulders. Then after that, last exhale, inhaling the eyes, the gaze, the head completely back up. We'll go ahead and exhale, let the eyes rest at the top of the mat, about 6 feet in front of you. Keep the shoulders nice and wide, and breathe. Notice if your feet are curling outward. Sometimes in our transitions, our foundation might be affected. Just come back to center. With your very last exhale, we'll go ahead and inhale the gaze back to midline, past the midline, towards the ceiling. And when you can see the ceiling, stop craning the neck. Give yourself 4 really good deep inhales and exhales, 4 breath cycles, to see if you can release in the front of the throat, in the jaw, in the tongue. That might just be small movements of opening the mouth, maybe even a lower jaw, gentle movement from side to side. And just release the tongue from the roof of the mouth if it's still there. After your last exhale, we'll go ahead and bring the vision back to center with the inhale. And then go ahead, just reset your mountain once more. Sometimes I have a tendency to grip the mat, so I like to lift my toes. And if you're finding that your legs are still really tight from your week's activities, go ahead and keep a micro bend to the knees. We'll move to our modified Sun Salutations next. Let's go ahead and bring our hands reaching downward at our sides towards the floor. Inhale, extend the arms while we're still reaching. And at the top, lift up at the top of the inhale. Exhale, start to engage the core. Bend up the knees if you need to. Come on down with a straight back. Walk the hands somewhere halfway down if you need, or just float on down. It's our first fold of our practice today, so we're taking about 5 good deep breath cycles here. And again, you're able to bend the knees to accommodate really tight legs. Maybe you have stiffness in the hips, knees. You can support the upper body if that's just too much. You can support the upper body with the forearms on the thighs. You can keep the hands walking downward. You can keep them at the ankles, the shins, tops of the feet. And all we're doing here is trying to find that center of gravity, somewhere at the hips, down to the heels, and releasing from the tailbone, down the back, down the neck, to the crown of the head even. So if you find that you might be lifting your head, engaging the neck muscles, see if you can gently nod the head no, release with a yes nod. And maybe your shoulders might relax a little more. Maybe the head will just dangle like a plumb line. And then with the next breath, Let's go ahead and start to engage our core. We're pressing into the feet, firming the legs, and slowly rolling up the spine, one vertebra at a time. Go ahead and walk the hands up if you need extra support. But just giving yourself that slow movement with the help of the core being engaged. Just come back to mountain. Last thing to stack on the head, neck is the head. Give yourself a breath or two for the blood to rush back to the head. And then we'll do one more fold. Energize the arms downward. Inhale, extend the arms above the head. Hands above the head. And then engage the core on the exhale. Fold. Float or walk down to the fold. Exhaled here. We're taking about 3 breaths this time. And see if you can release. With the next inhale, you have a choice of slow roll up once more, or you can extend the arms, engage the core either way, and come on up with the inhale. Straight back, exhale, bring your hands down center. We'll move into our modified Sun Salutation. Inhale, standing weight to the left leg, right foot lifts. Exhale the right heel, ball of foot, toes down by the end of that exhale. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale, the foot down. And as you're slowly meditating to the top of the mat, if you feel any wobbliness, go ahead and press into the palms. Engage the core if it is not engaged to help you come back to center. And if you wobble and fall out, that's okay. Just come on back. At the top of the mat, let's go ahead and look down at the fingertips. Inhale, watch the fingertips rise. Exhale, separate the palms, engage the hips, core, and foot down to another fold. Here we're going to fully exhale and then inhale for a half lift. Stay here for a few breaths. All we're trying to do here is lengthen through the legs as is available. So if you still need to bend the knees, do so. And then keep a 90-degree angle line from the tailbone to our half lift. So we might have a 90-degree, we might have a 45-degree. We're just trying to find release and length, engaging the core, coming up to a half lift. Exhale, let's bend the elbows, return towards the fold. Bring the hands to either side of the feet. Bend those knees deeply if you have to. And we're going to step a right foot back and a left foot back, coming into our modified high plank. We just inhale the shoulders over the wrists. Bring the heels down. Elbows are pointed towards the back. Tops of the ankles on, tops of the feet on the mat. Untucking the toes. And give yourself that support from the top of the ankles through the shins, but hopefully not into the kneecaps. And if you find yourself further forward over the wrists than you need to be, you can gently just walk the hands up. You can lift the knees and move the knees, shins where you need to. Engaging the core is key here. Let's go ahead and inhale, tuck the toes, lift up the hips, exhale. Hips back for first down dog. Now, if you need to notice space between the feet, or the distance between the feet and the hands, from upside down the V, you can do so here. Keep a nice deep bend. Once more, if the backs of the legs are super tight. No reason for the heels to go down on the mat, but that is eventually where the idea will be. So you can work towards that. Maybe lengthening those calf muscles, the Achilles heels, all the hamstrings, the glutes that need a little less tightness in order for the heels to go downward. Maybe that deep bend to the knees are going to help you stretch that out. Give yourself a moment to notice where your ears are, hopefully somewhere in between your upper arms. And keep the belly button glued to the spine if you can for a high apex at the hips. Palms are pressed downward. Balls of the feet, if not the entire foot, is pressed downward as well. And you're breathing. One more inhale. Let's go ahead and lift the hands. We're going to exhale to walk the hands toward our feet, toward the back of the mat. You can even step back if you need to. Fully exhaled back here. Let's inhale and press into wherever you have contact with your hands to lengthen through the back for another half lift. Exhale back to the fold. Inhale, keep the bend if you need, slow roll up if you need, or come on up with a straight back. Strong core, exhale, hands on heart center. And we'll go towards our second round, pressing into the palms. Standing weight to the left leg, lift the right foot, place it down on the exhale, and make your way with a soft gaze out to the distance somewhere. 1 foot step per breath cycle. And at the top of the mat, look down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Watch the fingertips rise. Separating the palms at the top. Exhale, engage the core. Hold at the hips. Bend at the knees if you need. Come on down for another fold. Inhale for a half lift this time, nice and long to your ability. Exhale back to the fold. Place the hands at or near the mat. Step a right foot, right leg back. And inhale, long high plank. And here we're going to hold it for 3 breath cycles. Splay the fingers. If you need to come out, you can always bring the knees down. You can always rest. But bringing your long energy from the heels all the way through the crown of the head. And then let's inhale, bring the hips up. Exhale, hips back and down. Another down dog. 3 breaths here. You can walk the dog by just simply alternately bending one knee and then the other. Keeping hopefully the shoulders rotated away from the ears. And then let's go ahead and inhale. Roll the eyes towards the hands. One more time, we're going to exhale and fold. Walking the hands back to the back of the mat. Fully exhale here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up, your choice. Engage the core. Exhale, hands, down, heart center, and finally down to the side. If you're feeling warmed up, it's a great time to have a sip of water. And we're going to make our way down to the mat. And we're coming into a position of tabletop first. So if you have issues of your knees complaining, now is a good time to bring down mats. Have the strap nearby. I like to have this a little longer because I know I'll be coming down to the belly soon. But in our effort to make it to the mat, we're coming to a tabletop position and keeping a place of the ankles off of the mat, off of this folded blanket. Will help if you have really tight upper ankles, tops of the feet. You can also just simply have the entire foot on the mat, on the blanket, have more of that supported. But that's just something to consider. We don't want to dump all of our weight into the knees, so we're really trying to use shins, the tops of the feet, for support in our tabletop. And then we're bringing the arms, the hands underneath the shoulders, and then give yourself access to the blocks. We're moving into our first cooling down pose of hero. So if you are familiar with this pose, you want something in between you and the hips and the heels. If you have difficulty bringing yourself to that seated position of hero. Underneath the knees, you can have a block between the hips and the heels. And eventually, we just want to be able to sit upright in our hero. Now, if for some reason you need to bring the knees a little closer, you can. And eventually, we're going to have our sits bones sitting on our heels. So if you still have a prop underneath there, that's fine. You're just making your way there. And eventually, we're hoping to be upright. mic. See if that will help. Thank you, Sean. All right. So here we are. We can go ahead and move our hands back towards the mat if we were upright in our hero. Release any props and bring the knees together. The inner knees to touch the calves, and come on down one more time. Use your prop if you need, into our hero. And you can stay here for a count of 3 breath cycles. Those are both the inhales, exhales, as well as the pauses in between. And you can always go deeply by just simply bringing the torso upright. Shoulders are rolled back, down. Engaging the core, feeling the energy from the root through the crown of the head. And we'll go ahead and walk forward once more, the hands out in front of us. Lift up the hips, coming into a somewhat tabletop position. We're just going to slightly open up the heels, keeping the knees together, but slightly opening up the heels. And once more, sitting back down in our fixed fern now, a variation of our hero pose. But you'll feel, hopefully, the sits bones in between the heels. As the heels are rolled out, hopefully they're there. If not, and you're still above them, that's fine. Just make that intention to have a slight external rotation at the top of your legs, which should translate into somewhat of your ankles moving away from that position directly underneath the hip bones as we were in our first hero. Take a few more breaths here. And then we can go ahead and move off of the heels once more. Bring the hands out in front of you. Lift up as you're pressing into your hands. And bring some support to the tops of the ankles, to the shins. So you can bring one leg out, one bent knee position out just a little bit, so that your knees are now sort of in that distance, like your hip distance. And then that way, we're coming into a wider position of the knees for child's pose. Now, as we get wider with the knees, see if you can go a little past the hip direction. If you can, your toes may touch. They just might go inward. And if you're either at hips distance or a little wider, that's fine. Now we're going to just simply bring the hips back. And again, if you need the block, bring it on down. Or if it's just a matter of gravity helping you, come on down to your child's pose here. And the difference here now is we're going to exhale and slowly bring the chest, fold the chest over your child's pose. So perhaps your child's pose is really high up and you need more support at the chest, and this is your child's pose. That's fine. Go ahead and relax here and breathe. Again, you're always welcome to come out if you need and meet in a more comfortable position if it gets to be a little long for you. If you're able to make it further down, you might bring the forearms down to the floor. And if you're just very nice and limber, you might fold with your chest resting on the mat. That's not me today. So wherever you are, you just do you. And then let the upper shoulders and body relax. We're taking from that point where you can fold 3 breath cycles. So perhaps your neck might feel good with the natural traction of gravity, helping the neck release. If that doesn't feel good to you, you can always simply bring a block to rest the forehead. You can do what you need to do to maintain your pose with ease and comfort, not discomfort where there's electrical pain or anything like that. Should be able to maintain it without changing the breath. And then let's go ahead and inhale to lift the head off of a prop if you have it there, or your chest. And we're just going to walk the hands back up towards the hips so we can lengthen through the torso. And just lean back a little before you move the knees back to that hips distance position. And next, I believe we are coming into the belly position of locust. So bring the props nearby with you. Walk. You can walk on your knuckles. You can move the hips to the side, but we're just getting to our belly. So however you can maintain that. Feels good for me to lift on toe tucks and just bring the hips down. Now, as we're transitioning from being flexed at the hip down to this supported position where our hips are kind of open, like when we're in a neutral position, like standing, give yourself a little bit of time to savor that. We can bring our hands down to the side or bring them underneath, pillowing them one under the other, palms down to rest the forehead. And if you have a face turn, go ahead and rest that apple cheek there on the mat, and the palms are facing up with the arms at the side. One more inhale. We're going to press into the chest and the pelvic just slightly, even if your hands are pillowed underneath your forehead. And we're going to lift the head slightly and turn the gaze to the other side. And if your hands are pillowed, just switch the position of the top hand. So you can rest your forehead on the new top hand. Or your face is turned to the other side, resting on the apple of that cheek. All right, we'll give ourselves one more inhale to press into the chest so we can slightly turn the head if it's turned off to the side. And bringing the hands underneath the brow to rest. If you're already there, just stay there. Give yourself an inhale, and we're going to lengthen through that left leg, pointing the toe. Just lengthen. You don't have to actually move. Just feel like you're lengthening that foot. And then let the leg rest. Inhale once more. Lengthen, pointing the right leg. And then let that rest. Then we're going to bring the nose to sort of be smushed downward, jaw, mouth, nose towards the floor. And we're going to flip the palms downward at our side there. We're going to point through both toes, both legs lengthen. They don't have to lift up. They just need to lengthen. So you might even lengthen and feel your kneecaps lift. And then let yourself relax. Bring the palms down near the shoulders and start to walk the fingers up. We're moving into our Sphinx and giving ourselves a moment or two to find that sweet spot. Focus on the hips being sort of an anchor weight. Shoulders, hopefully they're not collapsing in towards the spine or towards the ears. You do want a little activation to keep them open and moving away from the spine. But look down at the mat, and let's go ahead and tuck our right toe under so we can lengthen through that right leg and then let it release. Rest the right foot back. Do the same with the left. Tuck that left toe, lift it up, lengthen through the leg. Maybe it's just folded skin that might be straightened out. And then see if you can relax everything from the hips down to the feet. Let that be your anchor point. With the next inhale, we're going to gently feel everything from our forearms and palms pressing down all at once and then pulling forward the torso, almost like we're dragging our torso forward. You might feel a little lengthening in our skin, and the shoulders are still moving away from the ears, nice and wide shoulders, not hunched. And then you can bring the gaze somewhere at about thumb level, resting softly in between the thumb area. When you breathe now for the next 3 breath cycles, deep, long breath cycles, call forth the ocean breath and use only those muscles needed to keep this general form. If a glute started to tighten, if you started to activate your your leg, your toes. See if you can release that. See if it's just the skin at the top of the belly, near the diaphragm. See if that's the only thing that can move with each breath in and out. And after your last exhale here, we're going to inhale. And then exhale, allow the elbows to move out, bring the hands inward, and rest the forehead one more time on the hands. See if you can let the shoulders release. Just let them melt toward the mat. Don't let them tent up. See if you can deactivate any muscles. Then one more time, we'll be moving the hands down to our side and definitely turn the gaze to the left this time. Let more of your cheek pass that apple area, perhaps feel its way down to the mat. We're not curving our neck to the left. Hopefully it's still in alignment with our spine. We're just turning the head. Might be exactly at the apple. Might be able to feel more of that skin between the apple of the cheek and your ear. See if this left shoulder is tented. Exhale, let the shoulder blades both melt away from the spine into the mat. We're going to inhale here, pressing into the chest and the pelvic, and just turn the gaze to the other side. Maybe more of your cheek area towards the ear will land on the mat this time. And again, see if your shoulders are raised, if they can be exhaled to help release back into the mat. And then one more inhale here. We're going to press into the chest and the pelvis to bring the gaze back to center. Walk the hands, bending the elbows if you need, and then pillow the forehead once more. Palms facing down. Elbows can be up higher than the shoulders. They can be lower. Do what you need to do. We're going to inhale one more time, and this time we're lengthening the left leg, and see if you can engage it long, pointing it. And as it's still lengthening down the mat, see if you can lift the entire leg as one unit. You may have to use all points of the rest of your body to help a little bit of support, counterweight, and then let that left leg slowly float back down. Release any tension in the lower glutes, legs, shoulders. We're going to inhale one more time, pressing into the chest, to the pelvic. Engage the right leg, lengthen through that right pointed toe, and then see if you can keep that lengthened leg as one unit lifted off of the mat. And it might not be much. You may not even lift it up, but even the intention will help. One more deep inhale, lengthen through the toe, engage the leg, and then exhale. Slowly let the toe and the rest of the leg return to the mat. And then we're going to release the hands, backs of the hands on the mat, palms up, and breathe, even though your face is just a little smushed. Then at your favorite part of rolling onto your back, I like to sometimes just bring my arm up. If you have a tight shoulder girdle area, you may want to just, press into modified half plank as we did before, and then a tabletop, bringing the knees, shins upwards, and then pivoting onto the hips. That's another way. If you're able to have that openness in the shoulder, you can just extend the arm above you and roll onto your side. And as I always roll off my mat, I just inch back onto the mat. A little bit in the shoulders before I move the hips a little bit. Just little baby steps. get back onto the mat and straighten out any folds in your clothing, your skin. And we're moving into our bridge position. So if you have your strap nearby or your blocks, keeping them within reach is good here in our base bridge position. And again, our bridge is with the feet about hips distance apart, and the heels are somewhat near to the bottom. You can reach down and kind of touch the backs of the heels with your fingertips if you need to. And the knees are pointing up towards the ceiling. Now, notice how the back of your sacrum feels. That's that small space right above the tailbone, that flat part of your pelvis. And there's the small of your back that might have a little lifted space there. So with the sacrum, you can kind of roll it up and down to kind of flatten out the lower lumbar space if you need. It's just to have a good positioning of it, so you feel that much of your lower back and that lumbar area is supported. If it feels uncomfortable, having this folded blanket under there or a rolled up towel under that small of the back should help. So once you've determined your base bridge is feeling very good, we're going to bring out our arms, extend them out to our sides of our hips. Oh, maybe about half a foot. But we want that upside down V formation with the arms relative to our body. We're going to press into those points all along the arms, the upper shoulders, as well as the feet. And as we start to press into that, we're going to peel up the sacrum and start to engage the glutes. And maybe we don't lift it up that high. Maybe we can lift up high enough to bring everything up to the mid-back off of the mat. You're engaging the glutes, the quads are engaged, but mainly the glutes are just engaging everything to keep that nice diagonal from the knees down to that either sacrum area or the mid-back, or maybe even the higher upper shoulders. Just depends on your body and your practice. Once you're there, we're just bringing ourselves 3 to 5 breath cycles from that sweet spot. I think I'm at my 4th breath cycle at this point. When you're ready to come out, on an exhale, we're just simply, from that point of contact at our upper shoulders or mid-back, lower the spine 1 vertebra at a time, using all your contact points for stability until the hips finally meet the mat. And then release through the glute. See if you need to adjust the back. Make sure any pinched skin is smoothed out. And we'll do that 1 more time. So this time, engaging your support areas of the arms, the upper back, the feet. Let's inhale, start to peel up the bottom. And this time it may, you may find a little more space, so you might be able to bring the hands underneath your hips and clasp the fingers together. You may be able to bring more of the shoulders into play and just lift up. Or you might be really good at that base bridge position. But find that edge, and then from here, we're breathing 3 to 5 breath cycles once more. And maybe this time you'll find that it's easier to keep that nice long diagonal from the knees to either the upper shoulders, the mid-back, wherever it is on the back that has your foundation supported. And calling in the ocean breath. Keeping the core engaged. And after that very last breath cycle, we're going to inhale And then exhale, release the vertebra one disc at a time until the hips land. And make sure any pinched skin, any folds at the shoulder blades, if they were tucked under, are smoothed out. And then let's go ahead and widen those arms just a little further. This time we're going to still use our arms and point of contact on the mat at the feet and the back, but we're going to let the knees just simply drop to one side naturally, slowly. You may even dangle your windshield wipe to the right side here for a little bit. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can always use your block to help support where you are. For me, I do like gravity to help me release. Now we're keeping an extended windshield wipe release on this side, just a few breaths. When you're ready to come out, which should be on an inhale, we're going to engage the core, roll the sacrum back up, knees follow, and just let the knees knock inward. Rest here for a little bit. See if you need to smooth out the skin once more. Make sure the spine and the neck are in one nice long line. We're going to bring the knees back towards the ceiling. And then inhaling. And then exhale, let the knees drop to the other side. We're just rolling the sides of our feet towards the left. The position of the feet don't move. We just roll to the edges on our windshield wipe to the left. And you can, again, bring that support block if it helps. Sometimes the body likes to feel a little support, and then it will not seize up on you. Then with an inhale, we can bring the engaged core to help lift the knees, sacrum back to center. Let's go ahead and readjust if you need in our base bridge once more. We're moving into a figure 4 now. And coming up with your strap if you need. If you have difficulty just bringing that left ankle to rest on the right thigh, sometimes it'll help to just have the strap handy there to help you. So maybe you can't really get that there, but you might be able to loop the strap around the ball of the foot. You can use your left hand to help support the left knee as it's bent, and just bring that formation near towards the figure 4 with the help of the strap. And you can rest the right arm if you need. If you're in a figure 4, it's always good to make sure your ankle is not resting on the knee, but on that thigh portion right above the kneecap. And we are looking for that external rotation of the left hip here. So if you find that the ankle is not quite there, but the knee is opening closer to your chest, we're just eventually hopefully bringing the knee onto the ankle, onto the thigh, and then thinking about the external rotation of the left hip and whether to keep that gentle guiding hand to keep that left knee from collapsing towards the shoulder, towards the chest. So just do your best. When you find your comfort zone, you just breathe 3 good breath cycles from there. Using the breath, mentally imagining the inhale, bringing all the circulation, the energy needed to explore through the body. And with that corresponding exhale, finding that tightness, any holding on to position, just releasing with the exhale. Sometimes you might find an activated muscle or tightness in a joint that simply fades with the exhale. And after your very last exhale, we're going to inhale, bring the strap If it's on the ball of the foot, to help lift the leg up, help the left hand with the left knee. We're just going to internally rotate before we extend through that left leg. Now, you want to give that upward energized lifting of the leg as you turn the internal rotation of that leg so that the leg is back in the original position. If your leg is not long, it might have that deep bend, and you're using your strap to gently stretch out wherever you can. If your leg is just nice and long, you might be able to use your hands, your fingers around the toe. Whatever it is, you're hopefully finding that release through the Achilles heel, the calf, the hamstrings as you lengthen through that left leg. And then give yourself the exhale to bend the left knee, land the left foot, and keep that base bridge position of the left bent knee, left leg. Give your arms out to the side and a counter windshield wipe. Not as long as before. We can do it a little faster this time, but exhale over, inhale, engage the core, press into the back so you can lift the knees back up, and then windshield over to the other side. Get a nice massage on the glute. And as you reset the body once more, we'll move to the other side for our figure four. So again, get the strap in if you need, lifting up this right foot, externally rotating the hip before you find the strap placement on the ball of the foot, or just what you need to keep the right ankle on the left lower thigh, but not on the left kneecap. And as this knee, the right one, then becomes apparent whether it's open in your right hip or not, this right knee will be closer to your chest if it's tighter. And we're hoping to open up the right hip by gently guiding this right knee to this figure four position eventually. So give yourself some time to find that. Notice if the support of the sacrum is lopsided. We want to have a nice, stable, even distribution of weight on the back in our base bridge. But as we can sometimes move our foundation in the transition, just be aware of that. Once you find that sweet spot, we're breathing the 3 to 5 deep breath cycles here. And after your very last breath, we're going to help bring the left foot off of the right foot off of the left thigh. Help to lift up the ankle. We're just going to internally rotate the right hip as we lengthen through this right leg. And again, using this idea of returning the long right leg with an internal rotation, lifting up. We can use the strap to lengthen through our leg, depending on where it is. We can use our hand. We can use the material, whatever it is. We're just trying to find that energy of lengthening through the right leg when it's returned to its hips position. Breathing here, a total of 3 good deep breath cycles by this point. Noticing if different parts of the body is trying to compensate for this position, making sure you have even distribution at the sacrum, the back. And after that very last exhale, we'll go ahead and bend the right knee, start to land the right foot in our base bridge position once more, making sure we're still aligned, any pinched skin. We'll just have one more counter stretch, a reset by simply windshield wiping from one side, inhaling back up and exhaling to the other. And then you can stretch out for your
Shavasana.
We're going to have a lengthier meditation as we wake up, but for your Shavasana, just get comfortable, flat on the back, giving yourself that space to be relaxed. If the belly is still engaged, let it just be soft, palms facing up. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken from Shavasana. Bringing the mind back to the body. Take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Feel the chest rise with each inhale. Feel the belly fall with each exhale. And as you return to your body vessel once more, I invite you to make any movements with your fingers, toes, your limbs. You can rock over to one side in a fetal position. Help yourself up with your arm, your hand. Back up to an easy seated position. And we'll end class with our breathing exercise. Here we just want to sit nice and upright The legs can either be in an easy seated position, one leg out in front of the other, or both legs out in front of you in our staff position. However you choose. Our meditation as we leave class today is just focusing on 12 breaths. So if you look at your hand, each of the index, the middle, the ring, pinky fingers have your digit, your little digits, I guess, these little spaces between the digits, and there are 12 in all. So following along in this 12-part breathing meditation, I like to just keep track of those spaces with my thumb. And I start from the fingertip, and you'll notice you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, go down a digit, 11, 12. It's almost like a spiral in. That gives you 12 counts. And then we'll give a spiral out with the 12 counts to return to the index finger. And all we're doing is inhaling and exhaling with each space that we count. So we'll begin in this easy seated position, nice upright spine, keeping our blocks near our knees if we need a little support. We'll begin a gentle upturning of the left palm. I'm just going to keep count. You can do this, or you can keep both hands cupped under or at the sides of your thighs. We'll go ahead and draw that first inhale. I'm going to touch the first count. Inhale deeply. Exhale deeply through the nose. Inhale. Exhale. 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 Inhale. And exhale. Bring the hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC for Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.